Hello. My name is Ashley Brott, and I'm currently a graduate student here at the University of Guelph. I would like to welcome you to the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences Convocation this morning. Before I tell you a little about the ceremony proceedings for today, I would like a moment to identify your closest exit so that you are prepared to evacuate the building for any reason. The exits are marked by the green running man symbol. For guests seated in the bleachers, your exit doors are along the running track on the east side of the building, and there are 3 exits for those of you seated on the floor. For those on the left side of the floor, you can exit through the door behind you, up the stairs, and outside. And for those on the right side of the floor, there are exits at both the front and the back of the room. Should the need arise, the ushers will direct you to the nearest exit of the building. And now, back to Convocation. The University of Guelph is honored by our graduates, and we take great pride in today's convocation. In order to allow full attention on the convocation, please silence your phone and electronic devices. Our colleagues from Alumni Affairs are hosting a special social media program developed especially for convocation. Please share your photos, memories, and advice for the graduates using the hashtag #GuelphGrad. The ceremonials used for conferring degrees have evolved over millennium, and the gowns and hoods represent this history. In general, the gowns for the baccalaureate and magisteriate degrees are black, and the color of the hood is different for each degree program. The doctorates of the University of Guelph our gowns are bright blue, and the honorary degrees are red. The University of Guelph crest that you can see on the screen beside me and is shown on the convocation program also represent our specific history. The emblems in the crest show the links to the royal city of Guelph through the white stallion above, the connection to the liberal arts through the book, to the sciences through the astrolabe, and the connection to our abundance in agriculture through the cornucopia. The University of Guelph motto, Rerum Cauau Crae Croasis, is a quote from Virgil, and is variously translated to be either happy are those who are able to ascertain the reason of things, or perhaps to know the meaning of things. The procession of people into the hall are also influenced by ancient tradition. The piper will herald the start of the procession of our graduates, the students who are coming to graduate today. This will be followed by the arrival of the mace leading the platform party. The mace is a symbol of authority at the university and will be carried by the beadle. In medieval universities, a beadle was chosen by the instructor to work as an assistant, but today the beadle is a ceremonial officer of Senate. Following the beadle and the mace, the Chancellor, President, members of the administration and the honorees, fellows of the university, members of the board and Senate, and members of faculty and staff. The degrees will be conferred in the order that you see in your program and are separated by categories representing the specific degrees being awarded within the college. We will begin with doctorate and magistrate degrees, followed by the baccalaureate degrees. The name reader will present scholars to the Chancellor and President by degree category. As the name of each student is called, the beadle will place the hood over the recipient's shoulders. This moment will be captured, and technology willing, there will be a simultaneous live webcast for the event to allow family members and friends to watch from a distance. The President will greet each student at center stage, and a photograph will be taken. We understand the joy and excitement accompanying such an auspicious occasion, but we ask that you hold your applause until the end of each group of graduates has crossed the stage. Then there will be time for a truly thunderous applause. Once all the degrees are conferred and all the cheers have been cheered, the Chancellor will close the ceremony and a recessional will play. Again, please take a moment to silence your electronic devices. Please remain standing during the recessional until all the platform party has processed out of the hall, and remain in your seat for a brief announcement about the reception that follows. Finally, may I be the first to congratulate the graduates on their various successes and offer my sincere congratulations to you, the family and friends who are here to support them. Welcome to Convocation at the University of Guelph.
native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
As we gather today to celebrate these graduands, we pause and reflect on our place in this world. We begin by acknowledging that the University of Guelph resides on the ancestral territory of the Attawandaron people and the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit. And we offer our respect to their Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Métis neighbors as we strengthen our relationships with them. On this day that marks the end of a journey, we give thanks for friends and family who have walked with us. And we are grateful for the classmates, faculty, staff, mentors, and administrators who have supported us and led us along the way. I invite you, each in your own way, to take a moment of silence to recognize that for which you are grateful, or to offer a prayer. As you graduands leave this university as alumni and embark on a new journey, may the knowledge you gleaned here be coupled with wisdom, that together we all might contribute to the flourishing of this world. May wonder and compassion motivate us to marvel at and investigate our rapidly changing world, and to enhance the sustainability of all things. May our world resonate with peace. Amen. I invite you to be seated.
Welcome. Good morning. I am delighted to officially open the Spring 2018 University of Guelph Convocation ceremonies and welcome everyone here, President Vaccarino, members of the board, honorary fellows, faculty, staff, family, and friends of the graduates as we celebrate the achievements of our graduating students. I'd like to offer particular welcome to today's special award recipients who will be introduced to you more formally shortly. My name is Martha Billis, and I have the honor of serving as Chancellor here at the University of Guelph. It is an honor to be here at my alma mater as Chancellor, particularly during Convocation. Convocation is one of those rare moments where we glimpse past, present, and future all at once. I liken it to a bit of a magic carpet ride. It's a ride that takes us forward and backward at the same time. Forward because today, graduands, you will be walking across this stage and into your individual and collective futures. Even if you can't quite discern what that future will be, that's okay. Looking back, I can say that the path which brought me to this spot today is not at all what I thought could ever be possible as I crossed the convocation stage, I wondered, as I suppose you must be wondering, what will my tomorrow look like? What I could see then was that there was no room only for my brothers at the growing company of which my father was president, and certainly no room in the company boardroom. Indeed, that was standard back then, the old boys network of the day. So off I went to begin my career with a job in the research lab at Lever Brothers, and then after that, the Ontario Research Foundation. Some years later, I chose to earn my teaching certificate. Not until 1980, which was 17 years after graduating, did I join Canadian Tire, and I entered upstairs into the corporate boardroom. My father had resigned his board position to make a place for me. From that moment on, my path was far from linear. My life had a total reset. My future was expanding, and my dreams had acquired the room to evolve. Now, 38 years since joining the company board, I am thrilled and amazed by the success and the evolution of my life, as well as of my dreams. If there is a lesson here, it is that life does not always go according to plan. And though there may be pain and there is deep anguish, however, coming out of that, what astounding opportunities sometimes do appear. For myself, I have been the thread which has kept an iconic Canadian retail company strong, Canadian, and expanding. Imbued with strong social values, we dreamed up a successful way to help needy kids across our great country gain access to sport and activities. We named the charity Jumpstart, in keeping with the company's automotive roots. Many here today will already know of some of Jumpstart's recent recognition, national recognition. Please bear with me. It occurred several weeks ago in honor of Duchess Meghan and Prince Harry's nuptials, by virtue of Canada's royal wedding gift of funds to Jumpstart. Each and every Canadian is now a part of the Jumpstart success. Who could ever have dreamed up something like this? And it really is happening. Needless to say, no way does this line up with the scope of my wildest dreams. Wow. So for you graduates, what will be your plan from here? You have demonstrated a desire to learn and to use your learning well. You have a degree from one of the top comprehensive and research-intensive universities in Canada. One which is to say, solving major world challenges. You have developed relationships that will last for your lifetime. You have dreams. You are ambitious. My advice, graduates, be more ambitious. You truly can accomplish so much more than is even imaginable. You guys have everyone here rooting for you. It's your turn today. Your turn to make a difference. Your turn to jump in with both feet. To aim for the farthest horizon. Oh, guess what? You'll never get there. And my friends, therein lies the challenge. You just keep on achieving. One dream to the next, and the next will evolve. Funny thing how dreams and horizons just go on forever. You are off on your very own magic carpet ride. Now it's your turn to make a difference and to achieve tomorrow what you cannot even begin to see today. I know you will succeed, and I'm so excited to see what your future holds. Thank you, and good luck to you all.
Well, thank you, Chancellor Billis, for that wonderful, welcoming set of remarks. My name is Franco Vaccarino, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving as President and Vice Chancellor of this great university. Welcome to your convocation. First off, graduates, this is your big day. You've worked hard, you've persevered, and you've made it. Congratulations. Well done. So today you all share something in common. You're all University of Guelph graduates, about to join a University of Guelph alumni family of some 167,000 Griffins in about 150 countries around the world. And you're also preparing for the next step on your journey. And I'd like to pick up on a key theme in Chancellor Billis's remarks, and that is planning and what happens to plans along the way. So how many of you have plans this summer, whether it's work, travel, or studies, or downtime? Anybody have plans for the summer? Raise your hand. Yeah, all right. Most of the class. How many of you have no plans whatsoever? Don't be shy. Okay, there we go. There's always one or two. There's probably about 10, 20 others who didn't raise their hand. How many of you have a plan for the next 5 years, a 5-year plan? All right. Yeah, about a third of the class. Now, I'm going to use that same number, 4 or 5 years, and we're going to go back in time, 4 or 5 years ago when you started out as undergraduates. How many of you had a plan when you first arrived here? Academic plan, thinking about your majors. And now the question is, how many of you had your plans completely altered somehow during the past few years? Exactly. And more hands always go up to the second question than the first, which I never quite figure out. But the point is, plans get altered. So what about those plans? Well, during those years, your years here as students, you've learned, you've worked and lived at one of Canada's very top research-intensive and comprehensive universities. You've learned, of course, about your own chosen area of study. And likely you've also gained knowledge and understanding about other things, about yourselves, the wider world here on campus and beyond. And along the way, along your journey, many of the things you learned and experienced have probably been unexpected, surprise, new, novel. And it's that unexpected piece that creates a bit of a challenge for plans. Creates what hopefully is a healthy tension. Maybe you took a course that changed the way you look at certain things. Or maybe you encountered a course or a professor or a friend, colleague whose influence even led you to change your degree program and your plans entirely. Or maybe you just walked into the wrong room on your first day of class. Anybody done that? Okay, I'm not alone then. So that happened to me. I'm part of that club. It happened to me in the first day of my third year as an undergraduate at the University of Toronto at the time. So it was my first day of class in the third undergraduate year, and I walked into what I thought was my social psychology lab. This was what I was signed up for and had planned to major in. It was the first day of class. I was late. The class had already begun. I walked into the room, kept my head down, and scanned around and went straight to the first available seat. Just sat down. Well, it turned out that I'd walked into the wrong room. And that became clear very quickly because as soon as I raised my head, I saw a brain, an actual brain, sitting on the countertop. Now, for those of you who might not know, a brain is unlikely to be sitting on a countertop in a social psychology lab. So it turns out I was in the neuroscience lab class. Now, at that point, I might have simply gotten up and left, and believe me, that's what I actually wanted to do. I considered doing that, but reality was I was a little shy and uncomfortable about getting up and distracting the class. It was a relatively small class. I didn't want to disturb things after I just sat down. And also I started reflecting, thinking about my situation, and thought it might actually be cool to sit in on this introductory neuroscience lab class, thinking that this was probably the only time that I would ever get a taste of neuroscience, particularly a neuroscience lab class. So you know where this is going. So I decided to stay for this one class, and thinking that I'd catch up on my social class the following week. Well, what happened was the class completely blew me away. The professor completely blew me away. This was totally unexpected, and the rest, as they say, is history. I ended up shifting to studying neuroscience as an undergraduate, and eventually enjoying an amazing and gratifying career as a professor of psychology and neuroscience for the last 34 years. Years later, here I am at the University of Guelph, where along with my duties as president, I continue to work examining the nature and the impact of brain changes associated with alcohol and drug dependence, as well as mental illness, and I'm involved in all sorts of policy work at a national and global level in the mental health and addiction fields. So what's the point of all this? Well, there are plans, and then there's planning. Planning and responding to those unexpected moments. Moments that could very well be opportunities. Now, having a plan is very, very important. Like the University of Guelph's strategic framework. That's our plan, our institution's plan, a plan that gives our university important goals and, I would say, guideposts for our journey. A plan is important because it gives you a sense of direction at one point in time. But the truth is a plan is static, while planning and responding to opportunity is dynamic. It's what allows you to keep moving and adapting your plan as things change around you. And they will absolutely change around you. The unexpected will happen. You know, we live today in a world of unprecedented rapid change with an ever shorter, what I like to call, shelf life of knowledge and information. The shelf life of knowledge and information is getting shorter and shorter as new information continues to accumulate at a rapid pace. So situation and context change more rapidly now than ever. So today, how you adapt to planning and respond to the unexpected, including unexpected detours or change of direction, matters a great, great deal. You know, it's surprising what you notice when you actually slow down in those moments or in the face of the unexpected. And really the message here is embrace, reflect on, think about, and savor the unexpected. And really what I'm talking about here is discovery. Discovery that comes from paying very, very close attention to situations that you didn't quite expect. It's interesting to me that the word disruption used to have a very negative connotation, generally speaking. But today we think of disruption that's caused by the unexpected as a creative opportunity, an opportunity to learn, to grow, to innovate. And if you think about times in your own lives that you consider as defining moments, I'm sure a few of those were planned, but many likely were not. And many of those moments may have felt quite disruptive. Those aha moments that caused you to rethink things. Now, I suspect that many of us here understand the need and the importance of adjusting to the unexpected. But here's the kicker, here's the tough part. How do you prepare or train for the unexpected, to deal with the unexpected? And that's where I'd suggest we come back to the past few years for each of you here today. One of the unsung benefits of education is its ability to broaden your view of things. And we tend to take this for granted. But a question worth asking here is, why is it that a broadened view is necessarily a good thing? I would suggest that it is necessarily a very, very good thing because, quite simply, a broadened view brings with it greater mental capacity to accommodate the unexpected, both good and bad. Greater mental capacity to bring to bear on issues of the day, issues in your life. As you broaden your view, you broaden your own mental capacity. That broadened view that you've developed here the last few years is basically your enhanced toolkit. Don't lose sight of that. It's that enhanced mental capacity that allows you to connect the dots in your life in powerful and interesting ways. And it's part of what we mean here at the University of Guelph when we talk about nurturing the whole student. Now, beyond academics alone, we've provided opportunities for each of you to broaden your capacity in other ways, socially, emotionally, physically. So we've given you not just the knowledge and information, but the tools to prepare and respond to change so that we can help you thrive amid what will be inevitable uncertainty. So as you head out into the wider world, certainly take time to plan, and then be open to adapting your plan, even if it means finding opportunities masquerading as a wrong turn or a wrong room. Thank you very much, and good luck on your journey. All the best.
My name is Robin Roth. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Geography, Environment, and Geomatics. Madam Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate of the University of Guelph, it was my great honor to present to you the candidate, Lawrence Owamsi McDermott, for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Larry Owamsi McDermott is an exceptional leader whose contributions to health, environment, and community embody the University of Guelph's mission to improve life. As a nationally respected elder from the Shabbat Abadjuan Algonquin First Nation, Mr. McDermott has devoted his life and career to social justice and environmental protection, especially for Indigenous communities. This work has had significant impact on the local, national, and international levels. He is executive director and co-founder of Plenty Canada, a nonprofit organization devoted to sustainable development and healthy communities in Canada and abroad. A delegate to the 1992 United Nations Earth Summit, Mr. McDermott has championed Indigenous issues and biodiversity conservation through the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, and is co-chair of UNESCO Canadian Biosphere Reserve Association's Indigenous Circle. He is among elders supporting Canada's Pathway 1 process to meet the country's 2020 biodiversity goals. As a former long-serving municipal politician, he co-founded and chaired the Rural Forum of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, helping to ensure a voice for rural regions. He served for 7 years as a commissioner on the Ontario Human Rights Commission, leading policy development and public education for Indigenous and other human rights. His exceptional leadership in improving environmental and social outcomes for Indigenous peoples and his commitment to building respectful cross-cultural relations provide a significant example of public service to all Canadians. Elder Larry, I offer this tobacco and I'm asking that you continue to share your wisdom, teachings, and knowledge to help guide our collective relationships and our understanding of Indigenous conservation governance and cross-cultural relationships. Madam Chancellor, I ask that you confer upon Lawrence Owamsi McDermott the degree of Doctorate Laws, honoris causa.
By the authority of the Senate of the University of Guelph, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Turn for a photo. Okay, good.
Hi, I'm Tricia Van Ryn, a faculty member in the Department of Family Relations and Applied Nutrition. Madam Chancellor, upon the recommendation of the Senate of the University of Guelph, I have the honor to present to you Donna Lero, candidate for the title of University Professor Emerita. A leading scholar in work-life balance and childcare policy and practice, Dr. Lero has been a U of G faculty member for more than 40 years. A committed educator and collegial member of the Department of Family Relations and Applied Nutrition, Dr. Lero held the Jaroslawski Chair in Families and Work and was co-founder and research director of the university's Center for Families, Work, and Well-Being. Her research in early childhood education and child welfare, including her work as research director of the Canadian National Child Care Study, has shaped policy in Canada and internationally. A member of various advisory groups, Dr. Lero has worked with academics, non-governmental organizations, and governments on public policies and workplace supports for families. Her work has had a profound impact on the quality of supports for children, women in the workplace, and families integrating both work and care. In 2012, Dr. Lero was the inaugural recipient of the Mirabelli Glossop Award for Distinguished Contributions from the Vanier Institute of the Family. She was one of 3 Canadian experts in a 2014 North American expert meeting held to mark the 20th anniversary of the United Nations International Year of the Family. And on a personal note, she was a fantastic advisor and mentor that I've been lucky to have the opportunity to work with. For her groundbreaking research and capacity to shape policy and improve lives, I ask you, Madam Chancellor, to confer upon Dr. Donna Lero the distinction of University Professor Emeritus.
By the authority of the Senate of the University of Guelph, I have the honor to name you University Professor Emerita. Congratulations. A lady after my own heart. Your citation. Thank you. Pictures? Yes. Picture. Thank you. I am pleased to invite Dr. McDermott to give the convocation address. Doctor?
Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, the Senate of the University of Guelph, I say, Chimigwich, merci beaucoup, thank you for this great honor. I also want to thank my life's partner, Nancy McDermott, whose patience, guidance along my life's journey has made the work that I've done that much more effective. She's very much part of that. I also want to thank my good friends. It's the good people that I've been honored and blessed to be surrounded by, who have made my work more effective. I also want to thank all of you who will receive your degrees today for sharing in this important event with me. Having sat in the chair somewhat anxiously awaiting for my diploma once upon a time, I appreciate that you're sharing this significant event with me. I want to talk a little bit about my journey, but also about our journey. Starting back in 1763, a time in which relationship building to develop what we now know as Canada occurred. At that time, the British Crown had emerged as the leading European nation, but there were more steps to be taken. Steps had been taken, of course, recognizing a French nation, and there were accommodations that we all know about that are part of who we are today. But there was work to be done in terms of the relationship with Indigenous nations. And so King George III, in 1763, issued the Royal Proclamation, which is part of the Canadian Constitution. And in that proclamation, there was recognition of Indigenous nations and the contributions that have been made, and there was provision made to respect Indigenous lands, Indigenous sovereignty. So in 1764, approximately 2,500 chiefs and representatives came across from the North American continent. Some of them spent 3 months just getting to Niagara. and when they got there, they spent 2 months discussing issues of importance to both the Crown and to those Indigenous nations. There was a cross-cultural literacy. That is, we knew each other's languages, we knew each other's ceremonial protocols, we knew how to make wampum and how to make agreements from the deepest traditions of those nations. And first and foremost on the minds and the messages that most importantly came from their communities of those Indigenous nations was the concern that we were going to live on the land sustainably. There was concern that trees were being cut too quickly, that fish were being harvested too aggressively. And so part of the deep loyalty that emerged in the Treaty of Niagara in 1764 was based on that we would recognize our commitment to the continuance of life, or perhaps to improve life, as the University of Guelph's motto reminds us. Later, in defending Canada's borders during the War of 1812, this relationship, this loyalty was critically important. And as we know, successfully, it was done successfully. And in 1815, after the Treaty of Ghent and Article 9 recognized those rights that had been affirmed previously, and a wampum belt, the Pledge of the Crown belt, was issued to 22 of the 24 nations that had been there originally. The wampum belt reflected on those 7 grandmother-grandfather teachings that I heard Dr. John Burroughs so eloquently speak about at Osgoode Hall last year, the first one being love. And so the Crown's representative, William Kloss, said that it will be our love and affection, the first of those laws, that will get us through the difficulties of our relationships in the future. Little did we know. I'm going to jump past that period of time and land in 1992. And in 1992, the Earth Summit occurred. The world knew. They knew what those representatives had expressed in 1764, that the way we were living upon this land, Mother Earth, was not sustainable, that we were losing species, that habitat was being destroyed, that our climate was changing adversely. And so treaties were established through the conventions of biological diversity, climate change, and desertification. So in 1992, it was also recognized the importance of Western science and traditional knowledge systems, or ways of knowing. So a commitment was made to share the epistemologies that emerge from those knowledge systems, to find ways to make things work better. The UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and environment programs all made strong commitments to sharing those knowledge systems, to making those knowledge systems speak to the broader commitment of sustainability. One might refer to the 7 generations teachings, that as we walk upon this land, we need to think of 7 generations hence, and that was certainly part of the Canadian-led Earth Summit in 1992. In 2010, in Nagoya, the Aichi targets were established. There are 20 goals, of which Canada is one of many signatories. They included, 1, mainstreaming biodiversity, that everybody needs to understand this responsibility. The other important ones I want to touch on are 11, which is the expansion of protected areas, something that's been prominent in the news recently, and 18, the inclusion of Indigenous knowledge systems and peoples in the efforts to achieve those 20 targets. In 2016, I had the honor and privilege of being part of Pathways 1, Canada's commitment to expanded parks, expanded protected areas, of which parks are an element. And in that process, guided by Dr. Reg Croshu of the University of Calgary, it was negotiated that we would return to our cross-cultural knowledge that we used so effectively in 1764 and later in 1815. That is a Western business model of governance and an oral, traditional, indigenous model of governance. So the way he expressed it in his Blackfoot tradition was the smudge and the gavel were equal. That those 7 grandmother and grandfather teachings, of which love is the first one, anchored by truth, 5 others in between, that they would guide us in what was framed as ethical spaces. Cree elder and professor at the University of Saskatchewan who had coined ethical spaces. So when you go to those, both the reports of the Indigenous Circle of Experts and the National Advisory Panel, you'll see reference made to those ethical spaces. And before a word was written in those reports, it was initiated with a pipe ceremony with all participants, including representatives of Canada, the provinces and territories, in a pipe ceremony in which those ethical spaces were reinforced. And so through the rest of the process of developing those reports, ceremony was part of opening every meeting, closing every meeting, and reaffirming those ethical spaces where people feel safe regardless of their origins, regardless of how they identify, in the one objective, which is to continue life, to protect Mother Earth, to improve the way in which we live upon this land. Then, when the reports were completed, a ceremony was held in Ottawa on March 27th. And again, a pipe ceremony, drums and song, all of which identify Indigenous laws, were brought into the process. And so the reports with copyright were supported also from the Indigenous oral side with a videotaping of the oral summary of those reports, of the ceremonies, and a QR code, the equivalent of copyright on the written document. Steps forward in improving our relationship on this great land, drawing upon those knowledge systems that emerged from Europe and now other countries and Indigenous peoples. So it's been an honor and a privilege to be part of that. Finally, I want to recognize that 2019 will be the UN Year of Indigenous Languages, and I had actually intended to introduce myself in my language, Kwekwe Wamsi Indigenous, which is greeting and voicing my name in my language. But within language is embodied other ways of knowing, other ways of seeing the same thing, and strengthening our knowledge. And so I hope you'll join me and others in celebrating that UN year. I want to wrap up my comments by saying that we all know that we need to work together. We all know that there are urgent issues, those issues of biodiversity and climate change, that no matter what your field of study, no matter where your journey will take you, that we share that responsibility to each other, to our children, to our grandchildren, and generations beyond, to be aware of. And that's why the first goal that came out of Nagoya was mainstreaming biodiversity. It can't be held by a few Indigenous knowledge keepers and a few scientists. It needs to be known by all who benefit from the generosity of this great land that we live upon. And so I hope that you will join me in accepting the responsibility of walking our path with respect for Mother Earth and for the continuance of life. Lastly, I congratulate all of you, and I thank you for sharing this important day with me. Chimigwech.
Good morning. I'm Charlotte Yates. I'm the Provost and Vice President Academic of the University of Guelph. And I want to start by thanking Dr. McDermott for those inspiring words and for giving us pause to reflect on our history and our commitments. So graduates, now is the moment that you've been waiting for. Can I ask all the graduating class to please rise? Madam Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars who have fulfilled the statutory requirements laid down by the Senate of the University of Guelph that they may be admitted to their various and several degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and in the University of Guelph, I hereby accept you for admission to your various and several degrees with all the rights, privileges, and obligations appertaining thereto.
Thank you. Will the graduating class please be seated?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Belinda Leach. I'm the Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Studies in the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences. I know you're all delighted to be here today, possibly a little relieved, and when your graduate crosses the floor, you'll be wanting to show some spontaneous enthusiasm. But I'd ask you to do that for sure, but to hold the general applause until the group of graduates has gone through, and I'll let you know when that is. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Dawn S.L. Dietrich. David Samuel Green. Sarah Rotz. Victoria Ann Pileggi. Pamela Taylor. Please join me in congratulating our doctoral graduates. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Master of Arts. Ashley Delage. Heather Jean Flintoff. Virginia Greer. Samantha Yanuzzi. Samanthi Mathipaskaran. Adriana Palmer. Chantel Alicia Ramsundar. Stephanie Alexandra Rodriguez. Pardeep Sandhu. Angela Lauren Young. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Master of Science. Valerie Elizabeth Hruska. Mwalu Jan Peters. Lisa Jeanette Tang. Please join me in congratulating this group of scholars.
Hello, I'm Gwen Chapman, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Dean of the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences. Madam Chancellor and Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Applied Science. Irene Elizabeth Alfaro with distinction. Simran Arora. Melanie Ann Atkinson. Danielle Rachel Bowman with distinction. Victoria Amy Marie Berkovitz with distinction. Kristen Elizabeth Bivart with distinction. Catherine Elizabeth Beverly. Sarah Buse. Alexandra Jeanette Bodrug with distinction. Daniela Miromira Bossens with distinction. Chelsea Elizabeth Bott with distinction. Courtney Nicole Boyer with distinction. Faith Ann Bramer. Sydney Lynn Brennan with distinction. Desiree Michelle Britton. Rachel Erin Brody with distinction. Savannah Marie Bucella with distinction. Stephanie Bunn. Galen Verona Mary Burns. Alicia Marie Campbell with distinction. Sarah Catherine Casciato with distinction. Madeline Rose Caswell. Vivian Wing Lam Chow. Annette Sophie Janetsky. Sophie Carly Clark with distinction. Clarissa Lee Cluett. Haley Collins with distinction. Grace Brianna Como with distinction. Jessica Elizabeth Costello with distinction. Stacy Court. Candace Leanne Cunningham with distinction. And Kita Vilas Datar with distinction. Amber Del Parte with distinction. Gabrielle Catherine DeVoe with distinction. Malika Danani with distinction. Austin Dorotea. Amy Bethany Joy Drake. Carly Marie Dunbar with distinction. Megan Duncan. Cassandra Dupuis. Victoria Nicole Etherington. Samantha Marie Fabili with distinction. Noor Al-Huda Fahmy with distinction. Anya Morag Farmer with distinction. Madeline Claire Farquhar with distinction. Lindsay Fine with distinction. Molly Claire Firth with distinction. Sierra Louise Fragomeno with distinction. Vienna Lucia Garofalo. Kelsey May Gata. Veronica George Boutras Gali. Carissa Giraldi with distinction. Kelly McKenna Gray. Alida Lynn Gross. Angela Doreen Gushu with distinction. Lindsay Ann Hall. Sarah Michaela Hammond with distinction. Nicole Hare with distinction. Julia Ann Harkness with distinction. Michaela Jessepina Harland with distinction. Alana Marie McDonald Healy with distinction. Sarah Marie Holmes. Michaela Marie Horton with distinction. Peggy Huang. Myra Alexander Hukal with distinction. Kiran Kaur Handal with distinction. Caleb William Hutchinson. Kimberly Nicole Ingram. Bailey Lynn Irwin with distinction. Emily Jane Jenkins with distinction. Navpreet Kalirai with distinction. Alexandra Marie Camp. Megan Janet Kelly. Jennifer Fiona Kemp. Uzaiba Khan with distinction. Hannah Bebe Kinstler. Cassidy Lane Charmaine Knight. Melissa Jacqueline Kwan. Rachel Elizabeth Laidlaw. Katie Agnes Langan with distinction. Madison Diane Ashley LaPlante. Hannah Elizabeth LeClaire with distinction. Brooklyn Christina Lees. Taylor Victoria Kaylee Leach. Valerie Brianne Lenyuk with distinction. Priscilla Liang with distinction. Weijia Lee. Bridget Wei Zi Lo. Alyssa Maria Loras with distinction. Nicole Patricia Lunenberg with distinction. Alicia Malhotra with distinction. Monica Mamoliti. Alisa Nadia Mirage. Anna Markov with distinction. Mary Lisa McDonald. Lindsay Barbara McLaughlin with distinction. Alexia Dawn Miller. Carly Lynn Nicole Milmine. Maya Narusevich with distinction. Alyssa Jacqueline Osborne with distinction. Jessica Maria Patrick. Sienna Pascal Peloso. Tamara Petrison with distinction. Miranda Petrosi. Christina Pham with distinction. Kathleen Pham with distinction. Sierra Beverly Phillips. Shannon Joan Marie Pringle. Brittany Marie Roach with distinction. Kaylin Nicole Ross. Justina Rachel Saraboski. Caitlin Rita Marie Schnur with distinction. Amy Schurer with distinction. Lauren Sarah Schwartz with distinction. Abigail Melissa Scott with distinction. Monica Maria Sagato with distinction. Danielle Christine Shantz with distinction. Taylor Teresa Sharp with distinction. Marnie Snook with distinction. Alexandra Nicole Sorbera. Deborah Elaine Spears Bennett. Megan Victoria Swim. Zara Lena Zaghetti with distinction. Marisa Helen Thompson. Hannah Elizabeth Colleen Tiffin. Sarah Mackenzie Kelly Trax. Christine Trin. Sandra Yi San Sui with distinction. Megan Isabel Twine. Amy Leah Val. Sarah Connie Vanden Acker with distinction. Tara Lynn Van Rabies with distinction. Ashleen Teresa Villistus. Maria Ritza Vlahos. Claire Elaine Wagner with distinction. Michaela Brianna Wardle. Ashley Marie Waugh. Sarah Victoria Wed with distinction. Ada Wee with distinction. Carolyn Alexa Whitehouse with distinction. Emily Mary Wildfang. Michaela Willems. Alexandra Wilson. Courtney Lynn Winson. Ziying Xiong with distinction. Ediola Imeri. Esther Yvonne Zanting with distinction. Please join me in congratulating all of these recipients of the Bachelor of Applied Science degree. Madam Chancellor and Mr. President, I now have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences, that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors. Sarah Lindsay Earhart with distinction. Kira Ann Struther. Zara Azmi. Jessica Marchese Barbosa with distinction. Samantha Mary Margaret Bell. Michael Christopher Bankovic. Morgan Nadia Blackman. Nicole Elizabeth Calzanetti with distinction. Davis Leith Carroll. Jeffrey Joseph Casey. Rachel Deborah Cass. Clayton Lawrence Chiarot. Stephanie Michaela Cipriani. Alec Paul Nicholas Cook with distinction. Alexandra Cotter. Bethany Diefenbaker. Courtney Lee Farrow. Ariel Dana Filler. Hunter Foster. Thomas James Gentile Garvin. Jacqueline Diana Goulart. Claudia Lisa Hardeen. Carly Ione Heimbecker. Emilia Henriquez. Austin Zane Risco. Devin Hughes with distinction. Kristen Helen Jardine with distinction. Nicole Deanna Johnston. Katie Marie Klatt. Graham Ross LaBerge. Zoe Lafstidis. Kelsey Megan Laidlaw with distinction. Emily Ariel Lavallee. Maria Nunziella Muriel Locke with distinction. Kathy Majeg. Melissa Grace McIntosh with distinction. Connor Brian Francis McIsaac with distinction. Ashley Megan Mary McGee. Tara Ridley Mallory. Cullen William Dundas McCura. Conrad James McGovern. Amy Lynn McVitie. Carly Nicole Mellon. Sarah Morris Rowe. Catherine Nairn with distinction. Amrit Kaur Nanan. Jessica Jacqueline O'Donnell. Catherine Leslie O'Hearn with distinction. Kristen Ann Paccione with distinction. Joshua Matthew Peterston with distinction. Allison Elizabeth Harms Penner with distinction. James Perdicaris. Melissa Caitlin Fan. Donika Phillips. Joelle Deanna Proctor with distinction. Emmanuel Quenu. Todd Christian Reeser with distinction. Anna Marie Elizabeth Reiner. Sarah Nicole Riolo. William Nicholas Roy. Sheridan Mackenzie Maria Russell. Aliyah Ariana Samuels with distinction. Hallie Yakira Schwartzbein. Corey Sears with distinction. Samantha Nicole Salenkowicz. Bryant Sawyer Simmons. Corinne Michelle Stairs with distinction. Kyle Sinowicki. Sarah Taylor. Hannah Jean Vore. Christiana Marie Wright. Please join me in congratulating this group of scholars with the Bachelor of Arts Honors degree. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor now to present these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Arts General. Jonah Anik Akhtar. Elizabeth Teresa Marie Byrne. Sophie Contant. Brenine Alexandra Cruz. Brandon Joshua Doma. Angela Donahue. Riley Foss. Chelsea Ross Giddens. Brittany Hamlin. Erica Linda Harrison. Connor Hung. Rahel Kokar. Stephanie Nicole Kingsley. Taylor Sashiko Nishimura. Veronica Rosio Santos Alvarez. Royston Kishwar Singh. Emma Smith. Alisa Aaron Spina. Danielle Lavinia Tricroci. Julia Wright. Join me in congratulating these recipients of the Bachelor of Arts General degree. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science honors. Sabrina Esme McIntosh Armstrong with distinction. Angelica Aziz. Catherine Joanne Back with distinction. Jasmine Kaur Brar. Sarah Bugeja. Heather Ann Collette. Alicia Nicole Cooper with distinction. Marina Catherine Correa with distinction. Alexa Desemony with distinction. Austin William Dodd. Riley Clydesdale Eyre. Sarah Jane Haynes. Kelly Marie Herelia with distinction. Jennifer Elizabeth Dawn Johnston. Diana Angelica Jugowitz with distinction. Lindsay Erin Kitchenham with distinction. Olivia Lech. Sabrina Posebon. Nicole Marie Smith. Melissa Tigert with distinction. Benjamin James Weir. Please join me in congratulating these recipients of the Bachelor of Science honors degree. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I now have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science in Environmental Sciences. Ashley Basiance. Michelle Grant. Jeremy John Harbinson. Stacy Nicole Sargent. Asim Syed Mohammed with distinction. And please join me in congratulating these recipients of the degree Bachelor of Science in Environmental Sciences.
Madam Chancellor, I would ask you to confer the various and several degrees on the graduates listed in the program but unable to be present at this ceremony.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and in the University of Guelph, I confer the various and several degrees in absentia on the graduands not present.
Well, graduates, you did it. Congratulations. Well done. Well, let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the Griffin alumni family, a growing family, as you can imagine, joined today by some 700 new graduates. And University of Guelph alumni now number more than 167,000 graduates around the world. We're all, as you can imagine, very proud of your accomplishments here at the university and really do look forward to seeing how the foundations that you've developed here will continue to support you in the years ahead. We want to celebrate your achievements, your successes, and do hope that you will stay in touch and remember that you're always, always welcome here. Graduates, I'm sure you've made many memories here at the university during your years here, including today's ceremony. And remember this as well, you're a student for a short time, but you're a Griffin forever. Well done. Now that concludes our formal convocation ceremony, and the college deans will host a reception for all the graduates and their guests on Reynolds Walk, just out the front doors here after the ceremony, and it's a beautiful day, and it's also your first ever alumni reception as new graduates, so I encourage everyone to attend and enjoy the post-convocation activities outside. A few very final words here. Of course, even as one journey ends here for you to hear today, another begins. And I do want to take this opportunity to say just how incredibly impressed I am by this graduating class and really want to wish you all the very, very, very best. And I would also say to take this moment to just savor this particular turning point, this particular punctuation mark in your story. You've earned it, you've worked hard. Let me just take this opportunity to again say thank you, congratulations, all the very, very best. And now the final word comes from our Chancellor, as tradition has it.
Convocation is dismissed.
Congratulations. Congratulations, everyone. We want to invite you to come back often, share what's going on in your lives. And now I'm going to ask you for a little bit of help because there's another group that wants to look as good as you do. So please take time, get photos with your family and friends so you can remember these moments in the future. And we're going to ask that when you're done with your hoods and gowns to please return them out this way to the older part of the building. There'll be signs directing you there. And then you can exit the room from any door that you feel. And I'm going to ask you to turn it up this time. You ready? One more time. You did it. Woo! And now you are dismissed.